YouTube coming back at you. I am going to give you an update on the exciting game that played between the Minnesota Lynx and the Indiana Fever. And that was a couple of nights ago. It was on a Tuesday, September 9th. So the score was 83 Indiana versus Minnesota Lynx to their 72 points. Okay. Now, their records, the Lynx Minnesota, they were 33-10. So 33 losses. Oh, excuse me. No, they were 33 wins and 10 losses, right? To Indiana's record, 24 wins and 20 losses. So you would think just by that alone that Minnesota was going to give them a run for their money and actually not only beat them, but crush them in a way. You would think that it would have been reversed. You would think that the Minnesota would have had 83 and Indiana 72, but nope, it was Minnesota had 72 points at the end of the game versus Indiana 83 points. Indiana Fever. So during the first quarter, I'm going to give you a rundown on a couple of plays. So Aaliyah Boston scored the first shot against Minnesota. She did a short jumper in the layup lane. And then on another play, I believe she stole the ball and she passed it to Mitchell as Mitchell lays it in. So Mitchell is on Indiana, and so the teammate Aaliyah Boston passes it to Aaliyah, and Aaliyah Boston passes it to Mitchell as Mitchell lays it in. Okay, now I'm doing four plays in the first quarter. Boston sneaks through and lays it in. So she has a couple of layups during this game and a couple of shots. Now, Sim leans in her shot and scores for Indiana. And during this point of the game, this led to a 10-0 run. So Minnesota did not score any points during this run. So Indiana put on a clinic, scored 10 straight points, like back to back to back. Let's see, maybe about 2 or 3 minutes later to maybe 4 minutes later, Minnesota finally scores a basket. Now, on another play, the Minnesota center posts her way in and with a hand shot the ball. So their Minnesota center posts up and just turns and lays it in. Now, another play, Howard grabbed the putback from Boston's missed shot and makes it in. So Howard had Boston's back on that one. As you know, Howard is another player that's on the Indiana Fever. Sims, who's on Indiana Fever, she accelerates, like she drives the ball in, floats and drops it in. Another play. Now, who did this player did an off-balance layup with a foul. And I'm trying to say her name, but Minnesota Excuse me if I'm like moving the camera all over the place. I'm just looking at these stats here. I think her name is Adaman, and she's on Minnesota, and she lays it up, plus the foul from Indiana. Indiana fouled Minnesota on this one. Powers, I don't know her first name, but Powers hit a jumper from a long range, scoring a three-pointer for Indiana. Now, several plays later, there's a backdoor cut from Hyde, which she's on the Minnesota, as she lays it in from McBride. So McBride passed Powers the ball. So McBride is also on Minnesota's teammate. So that was like a good backdoor cut that was done. Now, Boston steals the ball going from coast to coast with a layup. And around this time, Indiana led 12-point Indiana lead to a 4-point Minnesota run. Okay. Powers weaving in did a jump shot with the short range. Okay. Plays later, Shepard lays it in for Minnesota, while Mitchell answers back. You see, another play, Patty hits a deep three, and on another play, Mitchell hits another three, and that is the end of the game. Meanwhile, you might have seen Caitlin Clark trolling Minnesota, making a timeout motion for the Lynx. I just thought that was funny. So Caitlin Clark is making sure she is involved, and she's very enthusiastic. So I believe that was her energy. Her energy. She pumps her teammates, and I think it's because, hey, she might be doing a little coaching on the sidelines, because it would be as if that Caitlin Clark was out there. The way that the speed of the game, the way that they played, they were moving around, doing backdoor cuts, playing some defense. I'm not mad at it. Now that is all. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to hear more of my take on the games.